my name is Selena Garcia, and the art that I mainly do is watercolor and digital. I like dabbling with like oil painting and acrylic, but watercolor is kind of like my niche, I guess, because it's just what I've been doing for the longest and the most enjoyable for me. I started doing watercolor probably in my senior year because before I probably would only do like graphite stuff because that's what I was comfortable with because I had like control over things and like ink and everything. But then in my painting class, my senior year of high school, my art teacher was saying how like, oh, like watercolor is like nice because you can just take advantage. Like the watercolor basically creates art itself. And like ever since then, I was like, oh, I love watercolor. Like it kind of releases that control freak inside. Like I don't have to control things anymore. So like that's kind of like how I started with watercolor. And then with digital art, I don't really know how digital art started for me. It just kind of happened. I think because I saw one of my friends doing digital art and I really liked how it was. So then I kind of got influenced from that. And then as far as like why I started art in general and like when, I think probably just ever since I was really little, I enjoyed doing art. And because I think as kids, most kids like doing art because it's like so fun and you just don't really care about anything.
Exactly.
But I think what took it a little further for me is because like the support I had, like as with my parents and other friends and like teachers, they're like, wow, you're so good. And I'm like, I am. And then I just like, when you're good at something, it's like you want to keep doing it. So I definitely think that had a heavy influence on me as a kid.
Okay. But that's good. No, that's good that you had like that support system because I know like sometimes like especially when it comes to like a major like that, not that you're like necessarily majoring in that, but like you enjoy it like doing it a lot and it takes up a lot of your life, but like the fact that you have the people to support you because some parents are kind of like, no, you should be focusing on like other types of studies, you know.
Yeah,
No, but that's really nice that you had that. So
it is, especially in like youth because like those are like pivotal years too. And that really like directs what you're interested in and everything in relationships. So it's really nice like at a young age I was able to have such a big support group.
do you enjoy doing them both equally or like have you started to like one more than the other or like
I think I go through phases. It's definitely based on phases because there are times maybe I'm spending hours in front of the computer, my eyes start to hurt, then obviously I'm not going to enjoy it as much. But in some aspects, like if I get into a groove of digital painting, it's much more fun, like regarding what I want to accomplish. But then I feel like watercolor painting and traditional type of painting is kind of more fun in the way that like you kind of lack control. So it's definitely a way to get more creative than you can digitally because digitally you have such control of being able to undo things and not having to worry about like what mediums you're using.
exactly
So there's definitely that. I think it just depends on if I want something specific outcome or if I just want to get creative for the sake of creativity.
are there other things that inspire you to either do watercolor or digital art besides the fact like of oh you've been on the screen for too long I don't want to do digital art
Oh, yeah, it definitely has a lot to do with just what you witness in everyday life. And funny thing, like, I think a lot of, like, as far as sketching goes or, like, thumbnailing out ideas, a lot of inspiration comes from what I observe. But when I just randomly just want to put something down on paper for no reason at all, it's just kind of for fun. But I look back on that work and I'm like, that really kind of describes what I was going through at that time of my life. It kind of like reveals stuff to you. So I think it's a little bit of a mix of like what you're feeling and what you observe.
okay
Yeah.
so like would you say that your inspiration like is it harder to get inspired because we're in a pandemic right now and it's like you're obviously more restricted to like stay at home and stuff like that would you say your inspiration has been affected by that or not so much are you still able to like oh like get ideas from these things.
I think in a weird way, it's inspired me more to get creative. And I mean, I guess it's not that weird because I feel like that could happen to a lot of people because they have more time to reflect on things
Mm.
and get ideas in that sense. Um, I think it would be harder if I was the type of artist who did my art based on observation or like going out and experiencing things in that sense. But for me, I think I've always been more of an artist that does art more intuitively or basing it off of nature. And I'm kind of privileged in the sense that where I live, I can get a lot of like nature views from just looking outside my window.
Yeah.
So I think for me, this has actually been better being stuck at home as far as like creativity goes because then I can kind of reflect on my own thoughts and feelings and just observe the world around me better because my world has become quieter. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's like that for me anyway.
Would you, I guess for you, I know for sure like your digital art hasn't, it probably hasn't been affected in this way, but like maybe with like watercolor or anything, are there like resources that are kind of like you're very limited to, so it's kind of difficult to create the art, you know?
For me, no, because I've accumulated so much material over the years that this has actually given me opportunity to use the material.
With that.
um, so I'm really lucky in that way
Yeah.
because there's like so many things that I have that I'm like, oh, I don't usually use that, but now I'm like, I have time to experiment on using certain things. So
Mhm.
I'm happy that I'm able to do that. I know there's some people who like I don't know, like maybe they have limited supplies, and if they run out, then it's like they can't really go out to
Exactly.
buy those things.
Yeah, which kind of sucks. And then it's like, oh, but I want to like keep making things, but I can't. But
Yeah,
no, it's good. I guess it's good you collected all your stuff over time.
yeah.
The role that art has in your life right now, is it the same as it was before quarantine?
I don't think it is. I think it's different. I do think that. Because I think before I took more advantage of it and like of my access to it and how there's other people like whether friends or my classmates that produce their own art
Mhm.
or they create their own things so that I can kind of observe what they create and like be inspired talking to them as well as just what I would create would be different but
Mhm.
now like after all of these things that have happened, it's less of seeing what other people's work is and more of just doing my own work and
Okay.
like using my own imagination.
So I guess are there any like cons or like bad experiences that you have had because of the whole quarantine and like creating, like have you struggled with anything, I guess?
I honestly don't think so, as far as creating goes, anyway. Like, just on that subject, I think there's only been really pros in my life.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, there was the experience of like creating for my classes because I did have two art classes. I think that was hard because you have certain deadlines and again you kind of have that expectation, but it's kind of hard to make yourself do those specific things because those are things other people are asking of you, which I think in general it's hard to motivate yourself to do things other people are asking you to do, especially during this time. Mainly after I think the semester ended. So like this past week and like last week have been pretty good because I finally was like, wow, I have that pressure off, like that extra pressure.
Would you say that, I guess like during school being everything online, and then you also you do a lot of art on the side as well outside of school, um did that kind of like impact your ability to make things just because like your time is so consumed by school and then having it all online kind of, it did kind of mess things up?
It really did. I think that was probably the harder part, especially during the beginning, because I felt like I was scrambling to like get my life together because it just was kind of thrown on us, you know? And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Kind of like a deer in the headlights here. Um, but I think nearing the end of the semester, I kind of just took it easy on myself and made sure not to like stress out because I'm not the only one going through this. You know, the teachers are having a hard time too. Like, I was like, the professors are going to be kind to us. I need to be kind to myself and kind to others. So I think nearing the end of the semester, I felt a little better about creating what I wanted to create on top of like doing schoolwork, but also just again not putting pressure on myself on either side of the spectrum, like not trying to overdo my own personal life, what's going on there, and not trying to overdo things for school either. So it was definitely a learning curve. But I'm glad that the semester is over because I think I can just focus on creating and not having to worry about balancing that.
It
Yeah.
is very true. You have to find a really good balance. But now that school's over, now you can just kind of like create, which is
Yeah.
well, thank you for doing the interview and taking the time to talk to me.
Of course.
A lot about, I don't know, it's kind of like where you got started too, because I guess I never really knew that either, but also just what you've been going through during quarantine as well. And it's really interesting how, I don't know, your mindset kind of changes because of that, but
Yeah.
it makes sense. Yeah.